YouTube, there's still some platforms for drinking bleach to cure autism. This has been something that has been ongoing.
Yeah.
And YouTube has been vowed to crack down on inaccurate or harmful information, such as anti-vaccine content, drinking bleach to treat autism. I think those are two vastly separate things. But
yeah.
They're reportedly removing videos that promote it as a cure.
Yeah. And this article that we are quoting from is from the Rolling Stone, although you'll see if you Google this, everybody's covering it this week, that they're really trying to crack down on this particular thing. I don't even want to give a name to the person who started this, but there was a guy in the UK who was selling this to families as you belong to this group, and then we'll give you the secrets of using bleach enemas and drinking bleach. And we have to be very clear on this show. This is, not only does it not work, and this guy is a charlatan, but you can seriously injure your child permanently. We've seen kids who've had their intestines just like shredded.
Yeah.
And what he points to, and he says, oh, it's, you know, this bacteria and worms and whatever in their intestine, and then people give their kids the bleach, and these things come out, and they think that they're worms. It's your kid's intestines, folks.
Right.
It's really harmful to the kids. Please, please, please.
A child has had his bowel removed and needed a colostomy bag after this.
Just horrifying. And so we appreciate that these platforms are saying we're not going to promote this. When we see this, we're going to take it down because it's directly harmful to kids.
Yeah.
And you can check that out in Rolling Stone if you want to. But I keep saying, gosh, I really hate talking about it because I feel like it perpetuates it, but I also want people to know, don't do this. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. Okay, so our first guests up, that's our news. We've got Marc Petz and Mary Musto are going to be joining us in just a minute. They're from Kent Intermediate School District, and they're going to talk with us about something called Autism XR. It's a web-based augmented reality intervention for high school students with autism to improve social communication skills. They've got a study. It's pretty fabulous. And we're going to be joined with them in just a little while, but a little bit later on in the show, I'm not sure whether we're having Derek and Dylan Volk, or if we're just having Derek. I got to be honest, I lost track of that. I hope we're having both, but we've had Dad on the show before, and he's absolutely fabulous. But they'll be back with us a little bit later on. We're going to be talking about Dad, Derek Volk's book, Chasing the Rabbit, a dad's life raising a son on the spectrum. But hopefully we're also going to have Dylan, who his professional name is Dylon. That's what he does when he's doing stand-up. And he's got a new book that's coming out, which we'll let them tell you about as well.
Great.
And we'll show you some pictures. So all that coming up after these messages.
Back in a few.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas, spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of May, I thought it'd be really neat if we made our own bird feeders. What's cool about it is once it's done and it's hung in your front yard, backyard, balcony, or whatever outdoor area that you have, your kids will be able to observe the bird feeder and tap when they see birds coming over and feeding from it, like, oh my gosh, oh, so exciting. Do you see that? Sorry, I got distracted. I'm just so excited about all the different birds I've been seeing now that I have a bird feeder hanging outside. Anywho, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 2.5 cups of birdseed, half a cup of boiling water, 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, a spatula, twine, scissors, wax paper, and cookie cutters. Alright, now that you got your materials, it's super easy. I have my boiling hot half cup of water, and I'm going to take my 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, and I'm going to pour them in and stir it. The reason I pour it in the water first all by itself is to make sure that the gelatin dilutes really well and I can stir it up real nicely. Now that it's been all stirred together, I'm going to take this liquid and pour it into the birdseed, making sure to scrape up all the gelatin that we diluted. Now I'm just going to stir it all up. Okay, now that this is all mixed up, I'm going to take my wax paper and put it on my table just so I don't make a mess. And then I'm going to take my cookie cutter and lay it down. I'm also going to take a piece of string and cut it, about 6 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the cookie cutter halfway full with our birdseed mixture. And then I'm going to take my string, fold it in half, I'm going to place it in the center. This way you can hang this up once it's done and dry. Okay, now that it's full, I'm just gonna pack it in. So now that this is all compacted, it's gonna take about 6 hours for the gelatin to get completely hard. If you take it out too soon, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. So let's wait a little bit and I'll see you guys in a few moments. All right, it's been 6 hours now, so let's see if this little guy worked out. So I'm just gonna pull him up and pop him out, okay? And here's my finished bird feeder. All you have to do now is hang it outside and wait for all the great things you're gonna see. Like, oh, I see another bird. This is so exciting. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the activity and keep me up to date with all the different birds that you and your child see outside your property. Until next time, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Back.
Welcome back, and here we are with our first guest via Skype. We have joined with us Marc's Petz. Did I pronounce it correctly, Marc? Good. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Marc Petz?
Yep, Marc Petz is correct.
Okay, great.
And Marc, we're sort of flying blind today. Our monitors aren't working. So is Mary with you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mary.
Okay.
Oh, Mary Musto is also joining you. Welcome to the show, Mary.
We're very excited to have both of you, and we understand that you work at Kent Intermediate School District. Where is Kent Intermediate School District?
That's in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so you guys have a pretty exciting project that you've been working on, this Autism XR. Explain to us a little bit about what that is.
Well, the Autism XR is a web-based augmented reality application that allows the users to interact with 3D interactive content that they place into their environment using a mobile device.
Okay, and maybe we should show, we have a little video that we can show.
Okay.
We're going to show it to you without the music because we didn't have time to get clearance. Marc has the clearance, but we don't have the clearance for the music. Let's show you a little video that'll give you guys a little insight into exactly what we're talking about. Take a look. Traven, are our mics hot? Okay, welcome back.
Great.
So really amazing, and of course poor Nancy is blind. Nancy didn't get to see the video,
Right.
But what I love about this is that it is a really exciting way for teenagers to learn about social skills.
Social skills.
That they're given choices and they're given feedback, and there's a coach there who's telling them, okay, this person is saying this, what do we do? So first of all, how did you guys come up with the content for your scripts? Talk a little bit about how you guys did that.
Okay, we chose the content for the scripts. We used social learning theory, and we also used the principles of behavior. And I actually used research from a list of IEP goals for students with autism by Wojcinski, and it covers the domains of communication with the subdomains also, requesting, how to have conversations, social interactions, pragmatics, perspective taking. So what we did is that in each script, I started out with a learning unit, which is really a 3-term contingency. We give instructions and the rationale why you should behave in a certain way. We allow the person who's interacting with the module to practice it, and then we give the feedback to them. And if they do it incorrectly, they can go back into the loop and practice again. So what I think is really unique in the content is that we're also using peer-mediated instruction and intervention. So the person who is working with the individual is a peer in the script. So we have a student with autism who is learning a specific behavior, and then we have the peer who is instructing them. So we're using peers as behavior change agents to help the student with autism on a particular behavior.
And it's just fascinating.
What is the target audience for this?
I lost what you said there.
What is the target audience for the app? How?
Yeah, the target audience really is all ages. We've built scenarios for elementary age kids all the way up to high school age kids, and then of course as we continue to develop this application, we'd like to expand outside of the education environment.
Wonderful. And so you guys aren't just doing this in a vacuum. You've been doing research, and I assume it's ongoing. Talk to us about what research you've been doing and what you've found out thus far.
Well, we did some preliminary research because as we've been, speaking about this really exciting product, everyone's asking, well, have you field tested it? So we did a research study here at the, with the approval of our school superintendent, and we did a multiple baseline design across participants. So we actually used this device to teach one of the social skills that we think is a real pivotal behavior for at school and in the workplace. And that is just initiating a greeting with an instructor. And we're hoping that, for instance, that would open them up to more opportunities to use verbal behavior. So our preliminary results, we did have some issues because we're in an applied setting. Marc's working full-time, I have a full-time job. But regardless of that, we did a lot of follow-up and probe, and I thought our results certainly we need to do the study again or partner with somebody, but our results were quite, I thought, exciting. We found that that for one part we sent to the SIGGRAPH, Marc's going to be attending that conference, that one student particularly on a scale of 5, that's the most that that student could get for initiating a greeting, which means looking at the teacher, making a vocal greeting, because all our participants do have vocal verbal behavior, and then we gave them an additional point if they smiled or nodded. So one participant, which was exciting, I ran the training sessions, I showed them how to use the device, and then they would go into they would walk down the hallway to their classroom, and then we had the instructors there taking the data. And the one young one of our participants, who's 17 years old, it was quite remarkable. He used the training scenario once, and he did really well. He got full points on the dependent variable of greeting. And then the next day, he never showed up at the training. And so I'm hunting him down like you were supposed to come to the training room. And he said, I get it. I don't have to watch it anymore. So we thought that was pretty exciting. And then he said, I want to see some of your other scripts. So we thought that was pretty exciting.
I think that is exciting because this is, my son has been saying this forever. He's like, VR is the way to teach older kids because in and of itself, it's gratifying. Like they'd be happy to do it because it's VR and it's cool and there's something about it that makes it, I didn't think that I would like VR, but I do. You put on the whatever and if you feel like you're there. So let's get to the whatever, because a lot of the issue that's been with VR has been that you have to have this system and you got to have all this equipment and you got to have a computer that can handle all of it. So explain to me what web-based augmented reality is. What is that and how are you doing that?
So web-based augmented reality is a new platform that is not quite publicly ready for everybody to use yet. It's under development with Google and other other tech companies. But really, essentially, what it is, it's a equipmentless way of accessing VR and AR. And in our case, we're utilizing the AR portion of the web-based technology. It's under what's called WebXR, and that's where the Autism XR name comes from. And so for the AR portion of it, it's simply you just go on your mobile device, you navigate to a website, and it starts working. You don't have to have any goggles, you don't have to have any other equipment to make this work. It's just simply your mobile device and a web browser, and then you start to use the augmented reality content, which just means that instead of separating the user from their reality, we're bringing the technology to their reality, which is really what we feel a better way of bringing the students to this instruction.
So to bring it home for those of us that are not as savvy as our kids are, with virtual reality, they're putting on that big thing and they can't see anything that's really in our world. They're in a world of their own. What you're talking about is adding things into their existing world. Is that it?
That is correct. So when they're looking through their mobile device, through the camera, they're placing these characters or objects into their environment. Their environment is what the camera is seeing. So they're not seeing these things physically in their environment. It's just through the camera or the mobile device, the camera on the mobile device. But what this does is it keeps them grounded in their reality. They're not disconnecting by putting some goggles on and then seeing a virtual world.
And I gotta say, there's something really, I don't even know what the word is, but it's fabulous because in our world, as we're moving around in our world, there's all these hidden things that we don't realize. And a lot of times it's the social communication piece, right? That I'm not able to say to my son, well, didn't you notice? I can say, but in my world, I notice when somebody is unhappy, right? And it's as if it's there in my world, but it isn't sometimes in our kids' world. And this is a way of actually making it visible to them, those hidden things that are there for a lot of the rest of us. I think it's really smart.
How can this assist classroom teachers? How can that be utilized? How can it be utilized?
We're losing your audio.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
okay. I said, how can this assist teachers in the classroom?
Still not catching your audio.
So can you hear mine okay? It might just
Oh yeah, you're coming through just fine. Yeah.
Okay, so it must be Nancy's mic. We'll get on that during a break. But she's wanting to know, how can this be used, how can classroom teachers utilize this to help them?
Well, you know, I've been working in some urban classrooms, and what I've noticed is that, you know, teachers are being given more to do with less resources. So, and with IDEA, the 2004, the mandate of having students with disabilities to the greatest extent possible in the least restrictive environment, Marc and I just so believe that is where students with autism should be to the greatest extent possible with their peers. So our vision is, if we could get this created, is to make this available for classroom teachers so that they, for instance, I have created the scenarios. I'm cross-referencing the list, like for instance, the one that we did on greeting. It also talks about when to have a conversation. It's not time to share your interests with the teacher when you're walking into the classroom. So we're covering so many of the IEP goals. So it would be just wonderful if we gave this tool to the general education teacher, that, or even free to parents, free to everyone, that if a student is having difficulties, for instance, on if someone is stealing, what to do in that situation, that teacher could give it to the student could interact with it, and really it's giving them behavior skills training right wherever that student is at, whatever setting. It could be in the classroom, it could be at home, it could be on the playground, it could be at a sport activity. So that's really how we envision helping the general education teacher, because what we're finding is that the students are in the classroom, they're sitting along the general ed students learning, but we don't see that they have as many opportunities to interact. So our hope is to help that student learn the behavior skills training that they normally might learn if they're pulled out and working with maybe a teacher with ASD qualifications.
I love it. I just love it.
And you're working on developing this application to provide it to the public for free, is that correct?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. And it's actually available on the web currently. It's just because it's still a technology under development, it's not exactly the easiest process to get it to work. And it's restricted to certain mobile devices as of right now. But it is live on the web, and anybody with who meets the qualifications technology-wise can use it.
How can we get there?
So you can go to marcpetz.com, and you can then you have to go through a process of downloading a couple applications on the phone in order for your phone to be able to utilize the web-based technology. But it starts at marcpetz.com, and then if you have a supported device, you have to go through a number of steps. And I at this point, I guess the best thing to do, or for me to do, would just for anybody to contact me, and then I can provide them step-by-step instructions. And I'm working on getting those instructions up on the web so that anybody who goes to the site can do it on their own.
And Marc Petz is spelled M-A-R-C-P-E-T-Z.
Yep. Yep, that's correct.
M-A-R-C-P-E-T-Z.
Thank you for that. And now you're coming to LA next month, well, 2 months, July, end of July, beginning of August, for the SIGGRAPH conference. I don't even know what that is. Do you, Nancy?
No, I don't. Tell
What's
us
a
what the SIGGRAPH conference is.
Yeah, the SIGGRAPH conference is really one of the biggest conferences in the world dealing with computer-generated imagery, just computer graphics, and then education technology, how all that blends together, along with research and just innovation. And so we submitted this project to SIGGRAPH, not really expecting to get selected, but then to our surprise, we got selected, and now we're going to be heading out there to share this awesome web-based AR technology.
I'm excited for you.
Congratulations.
And you have a new Patreon site for people who would like to participate and donate. And I think that you sent that to Traven, and he's going to put it up on the screen for you. But important at this point that you get some additional funds, correct?
Yeah, we're at a point now where we are searching for funding in order to develop this even further. We're working on certain technologies within this application that is going to require some developers to spend some more time on developing, and of course, working with this new technology that isn't quite exactly laid out and easy to do yet. So, getting funding to get this supported is going to be critical to making this, the best that it can be.
Okay.
It's very exciting.
Yeah,
Again,
very
we want to
exciting.
tell people, go to Marc Petz, that's Marc with a C and Petz with a Z, .com to get more information. But we're going to have you back when you guys get closer to being where you want to be. But really remarkable, and thank you both so much for the work that you're doing and for being with us. We're going to go to break, but I'm going to ask the two of you to stay on the phone for just a second because I have a question for you off air, and I'll tell everybody what it is later.
Thank you.
But stick with us. We're going to be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to be joined by fabulous guest Derek Volk, an amazing dad. So stick with us. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Can you say hello? Say hello.
AJ?
Stop crying.
AJ, let's eat. Can you eat, AJ? Let's eat, son. Have a fry. My understanding of autism was very limited.
He would lick tires on cars, windows, you name it. And so we went to the 13-month checkup, and I remember our pediatrician, he said, well, he probably has autism. There's nothing you can do about it. Come back in a year when he's 3.
Our initial understanding of what the ABA program was basically all we picked up from this clinic in San Antonio.
He didn't pick up any signs the entire 8 months that he was there. I think the difference came when we changed vendors.
We were very impressed with the way that CARD actually gathered data to be able to quantify the progress that he was making. They have a curriculum that they follow that's tailored to each child. They were identifying AJ's strengths and weaknesses.
We were finally starting to see real progress.
Good, AJ. Here's eggs.
The first thing CARD did for us was, I remember the first time AJ said, "Mommy, I want you." And that was the most wonderful thing ever. There's hope.
Yeah,
That's when I knew that there was hope. I never thought that AJ would be able to say that. It was like a gift from God. It was so fantastic.
with CARD, we got him enrolled in a private school.
And he was in a typical classroom. He would go from activity to activity. He could sit when he was supposed to sit. He could be around typical kids. The goal is for CARD to work themselves out of a job. It's for AJ to be in a mainstream classroom with no help, and he's functional and he's learning. We're really grateful to all of the therapists. AJ would not be where he is without them, and we will never be able to repay the part of themselves that they gave to him to make his life better and to make our lives better.
Parent to parent, having a compliant child is one of the greatest things on earth. But frequently we ask ourselves, why doesn't my child listen? Well, here are some tips to help us to get a listening, happy, compliant child. First, we want to make sure that we make compliance worthwhile. Whenever your child does something that's compliant, make sure that you praise them and heap rewards on them that are meaningful to them, things they really want. One of the things that we have to be mindful of is that if the child isn't compliant, we have to praise more often. Just heap it on. If you say to yourself, there's nothing to praise, they're not doing anything that I want them to do, then ask them to do something that they already want to do. This is a really tricky way of being able to praise them. And then, of course, the last thing that we want to do is catch them doing good things when they least suspect it. And make sure you heap that praise on, because having a compliant child is one of the best things in life. Token economies are a great way to get to good behavior with your child.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism, and now we have our second wonderful guest, Derek Volk.
Amazing dad. And I got to start by saying that whenever we have somebody who is an entrepreneur on the show, I always believe that's a parent. I believe that we should talk about their business, and so that, because you and I always want to shop and support people on the spectrum and their parents on the spectrum. So Derek Volk is the owner of Volk Packaging. If you need to buy corrugated boxes, you need to go to Volk Packaging to get the box.
That's in Biddeford, Maine.
And I also have to say too, this is an amazing dad. Of how many kids do you have, Derek?
I have 4 children.
4 children.
3 daughters, and your son, who is the subject of your bestseller, which we're going to talk about.
Which is called Chasing the Rabbit, A Dad's Life Raising a Son on the Spectrum. But I think also kudos that Derek is still happily married to his high school sweetheart.
That's
in
pretty
amongst
impressive.
having 4 kids.
Yes, and a child on the spectrum.
And a child on the spectrum, and 3 daughters. Let's say that that's a challenge too, and running a business. And his wife is the fabulous former state senator, Amy Volk. You know, you're pretty awesome, Derek.
Well, thank you. She is pretty fabulous.
Well, and you are so awesome because you are someone who is a supporter of autism awareness. You're a community volunteer and a philanthropist.
And you actually hire several employees. You have several employees who are on the autism spectrum.
Yes, we do.
And you, along with your family, you were named the 2015 Spurwink Humanitarian of the Year. No small honor. Really fabulous. So welcome back to the show, because we've had you before on the show, and you've got the fabulous book, as we said, bestseller, internationally acclaimed bestseller, Chasing the Rabbit, A Dad's Life Raising a Son on the Spectrum. So first of all, how did you come up with this name, Chasing the Rabbit?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. The title of the book actually came from an analogy that I always used when Dylan was younger. I always described him like a greyhound, and the rabbit was normal. And so he could see it. He knew exactly what it looked like, but no matter how much he ran and exhausts himself, and he does exhaust himself, he just can't catch it. It's always just out of reach.
When did you first notice something was different about Dylan, and there might be something to do with autism?
Well, when I first noticed and my wife first noticed were 2 different things. So when Dylan was 2, I came home from work. My wife was a stay-home mom, and she was watching a couple of the neighborhood kids a couple days a week. Both were boys. And I came home from work one day. She sat me down very seriously, and she said, something's not quite right with Dylan. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't know, but something's not right. And I said, well, why would you say that? And she said, well, when the other boys are here and they're playing cars or blocks or whatever they're doing, they're communicating, they're interacting in some kind of 2-year-old level, and he doesn't. It's like he doesn't even seem to care or notice that they're in the room at all. And it just seems off to me. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't seem right. That was the beginning of our journey. At that point, we didn't really know what to do with that. We were young parents, first child. Amy had done a lot of babysitting, so she'd been around kids a lot. I had not, so I didn't know anything about it. My response was, well, that's just because he's way smarter than those kids, so that's why he doesn't want to do anything with them. And in my head, that made sense because Dylan was a very unusual little boy. When he was 2, he was obsessed with vacuum cleaners, and we used to literally go to breakfast on Saturday morning and then go to the department store where he could sit and play with the vacuum cleaners for hours on end. And he did some unusual things. He was like, I don't know, 12, 13 months, started talking, got to about 16 months, 17 months, had like 9 to 10 words, mama, dada, doggy, all your typical baby words. And then he just stopped adding words. And then when he was about 26, 27 months, I was putting him to bed one night, and he reached up on the bookshelf, grabbed a book, and said, how about this book? And I was like, what? And he said, how about we read this book tonight? And he went from like 9 to 10 words to full grammatically correct sentences in one day.
Wow.
It was very strange.
Very strange. So imagine it made it hard for you to get a diagnosis because of that sort of chaotic, starting and stopping of things. What was that process like for you guys?
Yeah, it was very hard to get a diagnosis. As a matter of fact, when Amy noticed that and when she said there's something not quite right with Dylan, that was 1993. Well, Asperger's wasn't even a diagnosis until 1994. So when Amy said that, we could have taken him virtually anywhere in the world and not been given the correct diagnosis. We then went a couple of years, we didn't really do much about it. One of his teachers said that he had ADHD. We didn't really see that. He was very impulsive, but he wasn't hyperactive. So we weren't really buying that. And then when he was 5, he went to a summer camp for a couple of days a week, just a day camp, like an hour from our house, got on the bus every day and came home every afternoon. And about 2 weeks into the camp, we got a call from the director of the camp, and she said, come get your son, he's a monster. And that was kind of the beginning that was a wake-up call that maybe there's something more than something not quite right with Dylan, and we need to figure out what it is. So from that point on, we went on what we jokingly called the Diagnosis of the Month Club, which was more like Diagnosis of the Year, because it would take like 6 months to get in one of these experts. And then by the time they figured out what was going on with Dylan, to any extent, what we learned is that whatever they specialized in, that's what he had.
Oh,
so
interesting.
The lady that specialized in Tourette syndrome said he had Tourette syndrome. The lady that specialized in OCD said he had OCD. And on and on and on it went. So every diagnosis was different. We would get the diagnosis, we'd go to the bookstore, and we'd read a book. And when I say we, I mean Amy. Would read a book about whatever the latest diagnosis was, and then I'd come home a few days later and I'd say, what do you think of this diagnosis? And she'd say, well, kind of sounds like Dylan, but it doesn't really connect all the dots. I don't think that's it. And then we'd go to the next expert. Wait a couple months to get in. have them work with them for 4 or 5 months, and then give us the diagnosis of whatever they specialized in. So it was only when he was finally 8 years old, so it was 6 years later, that my brother actually read an article in the New York Times about a boy with Asperger's, and sent me this article. I looked through it, and I'm reading this article. I have no idea why, and it says he has this form of autism called Asperger's, and the boy had memorized the entire subway system in New York City. Every single subway he could tell you how to get, every street he could tell you how to get there. So at the time, Dylan was really into birds. He knew everything about birds. And so as I'm reading this article, I'm thinking, okay, what does this have to do with me? Why did my brother send me this? And in the last paragraph, it said when the boy was little, he was obsessed with vacuum cleaners. So I grabbed the Post-it note that my brother had written, and I kind of tossed aside, and I grabbed it. And on the note, it said, could this be what Dylan has? And that was the beginning. We ended up taking him. My wife found some place that had no vested interest in the diagnosis. They weren't going to treat him regardless. And took us about 6 months to get in there. And by the time we got in and they did the testing and everything else, they came back with Asperger's.
Wow.
And we went up and we bought a book about that, Tony Atwood's book.
And I don't want you to give too much away because we want people to buy the book.
Right.
Yes,
right?
buy the book.
Yeah, buy the book so that you can see how they get from that through some very turbulent, for those of you who are having teen issues and turbulent, you guys had a pretty turbulent teen years, but you guys are at a pretty exciting place now. And we want to make sure that people do get Chasing the Rabbit, but there's a new book to be talked about too. But let's start with Chasing the Rabbit. How can they get it, Derek? Where can they purchase it?
All right, the best thing to do is they can go to our website, chasingtherabbit.org, chasingtherabbit.org. Of course, you can get it on Amazon as well. But if you want to buy it directly, I'll sign it. I'll hand sign it to whoever. You can go to chasingtherabbit.org, and we'll send one right out to you. Shipping is included. With that, you can also buy Dylan's book, which is right here, which is called Bad Choices Make Good Stories, My Life with Autism. And you can get that also at chasingtherabbit.org, or you can go to Dylan's page, which is badchoicesmakegoodstories.com. And you can also watch a video of Dylan on that page, which is tremendous, him talking about his job experience. And so this book basically takes you from about 5th grade to beyond where Chasing the Rabbit ended, right through Dylan's very turbulent years after I kind of wrapped up Chasing the Rabbit, and then Dylan had some more adventures after that, including some arrests and a drug addiction that he has been very successfully overcoming. 2 years and 5 months clean now, thank God.
Yeah, and you went through some pretty harrowing times, as Shannon said. There was a time when Dylan was suicidal, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he had problems with drug addiction, as you said. And your book is very open about your anger at Dylan and what you did to get through it. Tell us about the morning you wrote about.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and I didn't even realize this until I wrote the book. And as I was writing the book and reliving all these experiences in my head as I was writing them, I realized that I was angry for a long time at Dylan, but just being Dylan, not for anything in particular. I mean, there were a lot of things I was angry with that he did. He's been arrested in 3 different states, and he's been kicked out of multiple schools, and so I planned to be angry with him. But that's not really why I was angry with him. I was angry with him because of what he did to our family and the chaos that he caused, and the family that I always imagined I would have, I didn't because of Dylan. And was bitter about that toward him. And I got some good advice from a counselor one time who told me that I need to mourn the child that I have, mourn the child that I thought I was going to have, so I could love the one that God gave me.
Right.
And that was really good advice.
Yeah.
It is not easy. I've had a lot of parents. Dylan and I have been traveling around the country. We've done over 100 presentations all around the country. Keynote addresses at different autism conferences, and workforce development conferences. And I can't tell you how many parents come up to me and ask me, how do you do that? How do you mourn the child that you wanted? And, it's not an easy fix. It's not something you can just say, okay, today I'm going to do it. Just like any mourning process that you go through, it's a process. You have to kind of work through it. And I've done that now. And I'm at the point where not only do I love Dylan, I've always loved Dylan, no matter what was going on, but I like him now. And that's a really big difference, and took me a long time to get through.
It's very powerful what you're saying, Derek, and I think it's important that all parents hear this. But I gotta say, I encourage people to watch the videos of Dylan. He's hilarious. Like, he has such an interesting view of the world and his take on things and what he finds interesting and funny. He's an amazing young man. I can totally understand why you love him and why you like him. If people want to book you guys to come and speak at their event, what's the best? Is Chasing the Rabbit still the place to go?
Yeah, probably. If you go to chasingtherabbit.org, on that page, I'd encourage you to go to the speaking tab. And on the speaking tab, you can see all the places that we've been to. I have to update it. There's some new ones on there that I haven't even updated yet. And you can see some of the videos of us speaking. And from our website, from my website, chasingtherabbit.org, from Dylan's website, badchoicesmakegoodstories.com, you can easily email us, reach out to us. You can get us on our Facebook pages. If you go to Chasing the Rabbit Book on Facebook, you can follow what we're doing, what we're up to. And it's all very easy. If you Google us, trust me, you'll find us.
Tell us what's next. Tell us what's next for you.
We could not hide very easily.
Okay.
So, and I'd also encourage you to go to our YouTube, and if you go to YouTube and type in Chasing the Rabbit documentary, just a month ago, a documentary about Chasing the Rabbit was released.
Wow.
And so that's in the early stages of being promoted, and it's currently available on YouTube at, like I said, if you go to YouTube, and I'll put it on it's on my Facebook page, of course. I got to put it on the website. But if you go to YouTube and type in Chasing the Rabbit documentary, you'll see it. And it's about an hour long, and it takes you through our whole story bit by bit.
So what's next for you two?
Not as much as the books do, obviously.
What's next for you two now that you've accomplished all of this?
Right now, we're just really trying to get out, speak as much as we can. We love speaking in front of audiences, sharing our story. People ask me a lot, are you happy with how the book is done? And of course, you always want more book sales. You always wish you could be a New York Times bestseller and get on Oprah and Ellen and everything else. And that hasn't happened, unfortunately. We haven't quite hit that level of success as far as book sales are concerned. But I can tell you that if I don't sell another book or ever speak again, it has been the greatest and most impactful thing I'll probably, other than raising my children, that I'll probably do in my life, because the impact that it's had on families, and if you read, like if you go to Chasing the Rabbit on Amazon, you'll see I have 198 reviews, and they're almost all 4 and 5 star, almost all 5 star. And the things that people say, the things that they say to us after we speak, the emails that we get, it's been way more than I ever expected as far as the impact that it was going to have on families, on parents. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And I just feel You know, this whole thing started when I heard God's voice tell me to write this book. And I feel with all my heart that everything we went through with Dylan was because these two books were supposed to be written. It's all part of God's plan.
It's a powerful story. You guys are powerful speakers.
Yes.
I wish we had more time, but we're out of time.
We need to close up here.
But again, go to chasingtherabbit.com. Get these two books. If you're having an event, I'm sorry.
ChasingTheRabbit.org.
.org, sorry. ChasingTheRabbit.org. Get these two books. Have these gentlemen come and speak because it's a powerful, powerful message of a dad loving his son and sticking by him even when it gets super frustrating. And you've heard Derek tells it like it is. Thank you so much, and thank your whole family for us.
Thank you for having me on the show. Anytime, be happy to come back.
Okay, fabulous. We'll welcome you back. Bye-bye for
bye-bye.
Thank you. And we're really out of time, but we will be back on Monday. So make sure that you guys tune in. Until then, give your kiddos a hug for us and
yourselves a hug for me.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.